Hello and welcome to the first of the Boomer Best of Omaha Spotlight podcast. My name is Patrick Holmes with Walnut Media, and thrilled to have Joe Toscano here with Gateway Auto, who's kind of our inaugural guinea pig for our Best of Omaha Spotlight podcast. And we've got a great one to kick off because not only has Gateway Auto got a fantastic story as a 2-category winner for Best of Omaha, but Joe himself's got pretty good story, and my problem today is going to be a time limit. So I've already asked Joe before we started that we might want to do a part B. So with that, I'd like to welcome Joe Toscano. He's the Chief Operating Officer for Gateway Auto. Joe, welcome.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
No, it's great to have you here, man. Thank you. So as I told you before we started, I've got a little bit of history in the car business. I too worked with my dad for a while, which came with its own challenges, which we can talk about. But you've guys got an even more fascinating story. And as I promised, this podcast is about Gateway Auto and all the great things that you guys do. But we would be remiss to our viewers if we didn't talk a little bit about your background. I was clued in by one of our employees that they've been talking about this Joe guy. And they said, the car dealer mentality, anything you think about a car dealer, take it out of your mind. This guy's not your typical car dealer, which, hey, listen, as a former car dealer, I always took a little bit of offense to that because I never thought that was necessarily a bad thing. But they go, this guy has got so much background. And then, he's an author. You wrote a book called Automating Humanity. I had the pleasure of watching your TED Talk today.
Yeah.
And which was interesting, Joe, is that was 5 years ago, but still pretty relevant.
Wow, yeah. That was the hardest thing I did, was make it relevant.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, have you written a book? Have you participated in a book
I
at
have
all?
participated, but I've never inked my own, but I've only participated, yeah.
So what you probably experienced and what all authors go through is, how do I write something that's going to be relevant in X amount of years? Yeah. But even more so in technology, right? Like, think of how much technology's evolved in our lifetime.
In a year, it's evolved. But as I watch your TED Talk, and I'm kind of involved in digital marketing, we've got a digital company, as you probably know. And so I kind of know more than the average guy my age. But as I was listening to your podcast, and I'm fascinated by AI, and I do want to spend a few minutes talking about that. Yeah. But I think what you're talking about with Google's model, Google Maps and Tesla, and how they're everything that we do is being monitored. And the most fascinating thing that you said during your TED Talk, we're participating in creating this labor force of unpaid, untaxable workers that are going to take a lot of our jobs.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
And that's still happening today, right? Yeah.
It's still happening. It's worse today than it was back then.
Yeah.
And that's because we as a population are not aware of it generally. That's been my work for going on a decade now, is increasing awareness of a concept that, when I first started this work, and for everybody listening, I used to work at Google, I'm a technology guy by trade. I stepped out to speak out against these things. And when I first started that, I was told to go live in my parents' basement, put on my tinfoil hat. Like, you're an alien, like, this is not real what you're saying.
You said something in your TED Talk about checking the box, which we all do every day. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
What are we agreeing to, and what are we signing off on? What do you tell people? Do you tell them to pause before they do that?
I don't. And here's why. Because at this point in history, it's a legal obligation that you have in order to participate in the internet. But what are you giving away? That's a great question. Everyone asks me that. I think you'd actually be better off saying, what are you not giving away? It'd be much easier to make a list.
No kidding.
Because it'd be almost invisible. Yeah, you're basically giving everything away. Some of these agreements, it's something that it's not every agreement, but it's definitely things that people have pulled out of different ones, which is it's rights to your data, to your information, to all these things that is not just you, but goes all the way down past through kinship. It's licenses to your identity. It's things that they can reduce and reuse time and time again that we no longer have control of.
So do these server farms with all of our data exist? You see them in movies where there's these big server farms where the data on all Americans is being dumped. Do they exist?
I mean, I think Google's spending about $1 billion to make them here in Omaha.
So I think that just south of town, that's probably what's there, huh?
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's cheaper real estate, right?
So tell us a little bit. Well, I toured that plant, ironically, the Facebook plant, and they're doing both down there, and they're huge. And the plant manager said, eventually there's going to be 300 people that work here.
Yeah.
To a building that should house 3,000.
Yeah.
There's 300 people.
Big press release. We're putting $1 billion in Omaha for 300 jobs.
Yeah.
crazy.
And
Could
a
you
lot of
imagine a construction company putting $1 billion in here? You're talking a lot of jobs.
Thousands. And most of them are security.
Yeah.
You know, they're secure.
Because they don't want people breaking in, and they
Exactly.
got to make sure that the things are operating, because if Google goes down, the world goes down.
Yep.
That's the truth.
It's kind of a sad truth.
It is. They're the railways of the modern world.
I want to talk a little bit about AI, and I know this could be a 15-hour podcast or more if we get really dig into your knowledge base with AI, and certainly on our business, on our digital side, and even on our radio side. You probably know there's radio companies that actually have AI voices that are serving as DJs. Are you excited or worried about AI's infiltration into our daily lives?
A little bit of both. And that was what my book was, Automating Humanity. We are at the point where we are automating everything that is human, but also at an inflection point where we can still make it humane, right? And so for me, it's both sides. Like for you in AI in your studios, that may mean helping you draft content. That may mean editing little things that you said that you were talking and you didn't think about it. You just need to edit over and voice over, but you don't want to go back and record the whole episode. There's a lot of value.
Yeah.
But then there's the flip side, which is what happens when you have someone who takes President Trump's voice, President Biden's voice, whoever it may be, and uses that to say something that you can't prove they didn't say.
Yeah.
You know, that's what concerns me. And that's also the excitement on the other side, right? It's a double-edged sword.
So, Joe, you left Silicon Valley. You left the world of of your book writing, and you're probably doing still some speaking and consulting. But you came back to a family business, and you and I talked a little bit again before that we're similar in the fact that I got to work with my dad in the car business. So your dad Ben and your mom started this business, and they brought you back. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. My parents started this, we're going on year 24 now? 24. And it's been a thing where they transitioned from postal workers into building this business. You know, it was not like they've been automotive people. It's not like my family had been previously. My dad built this business on his mail route, right? That's how it started. It grew from there because we were such good people that people kept telling others about it. And it grew very organically. But what I came into, you know, my first job was at the shop, okay, for sure. I was cleaning cars. I was taking scrap metal to the lot. Yeah. That was my job. But I never really saw myself getting into the business. I'm sure you probably felt
I felt the same way,
you know, the same. My next foray into trying to get involved was like maybe 18, 19 years old. And I had said, we need to get on Facebook. This is, you know, day one on Facebook. And my parents were like, kid, get out of here.
Yeah.
Get out of here. You don't know what you're talking about. Like, we don't need this. And then I said, okay, you know, I'm not meant to be involved in it. At the time, you know, when it was an earlier company, there was a lot more, you know, fly by night kind of guys that we had employed, and I just never saw myself fitting in. But when I left Google, it was kind of a thing where, you know, they did the family elbow, and they're like, you know, we could probably use some help if you got some time, right? Because now they'd grown a bunch, and the digital team that was managing all their stuff was not doing well. They didn't know how to say you're not doing well and how to tell them to do better.
Where were you physically at this time? In California or New York?
I was in California. I lived in San Francisco.
Okay.
And I had just left Google, and I was actually living out of my car.
Okay.
I was living out of my car until the speaking engagements got so big that I was living out of a plane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And,
nice transition.
So, yeah, it was. It was a risk, but it worked out. But so I told him, I was like, I don't have the time personally to come help you. Not today, at least. I'm on a plane 6 to 8 months out of the year. I got all these other things happening, but I'll help you hire somebody, and I'll teach him, and I'll help him operate. I did that. That guy's still with us. He's been there for now 7.5 years, and it's created a dramatic difference in the business. Basically, I taught him how to do the basics of all the IT, how to set up an internet profile, how to grow it and make our business grow. And what had happened through that is I was managing remotely, getting told that I'm not actually doing anything for the business. Like, oh, Alex is doing so much. And I'm like, yeah, he's probably operating like a 30-year-old man because he just popped out of college and knew what to do, right?
Right.
No. So I've been involved for a while, but nobody really knew what I did.
Gotcha.
And 2019...
Which in IT is not difficult.
It's not.
Just behind
I'm invisible.
Behind the scenes.
I'm invisible.
It's hard to see.
Right.
It's hard to see SEO right on paper.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm invisible. But yeah, so 2019, I got more involved because my grandpa was really sick. Alex, who's the kid I hired, had called me and been like, hey, something's happening here. I'm not really sure what it is, but I think you need to come home. And what I found
and
out.
you developed a relationship with Alex to the point where you guys were friends and you respected his opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Of course. And so I came home. We did some looking in, and what had happened is my parents were off taking care of my grandpa, who was going through Alzheimer's, dementia problems. He was living in Blair, so they're gone half the week up in Blair. And the manager that we had at the time was embezzling from us. Big problem.
Oh boy, yeah.
Not something we fondly look back on. But at that point, I was like, hey, family's sick. Maybe, I'm traveling the world, but I could use some stability. How about we trade? So I said to them, I'll take a lot less money than what I could get if I'm working a full-time job in corporate. But when I help you make some money and grow the business, you got to pay me.
Don't forget about me.
And so that's pretty much what it was. 2020, I had done a 20-year audit of the company at that point, just like I would do as a SWOT analysis, kind of business analysis for any other big multi-billion-dollar company. And I said, here's what we need to do. Here's our 5 and 10-year plan. And I came back in March 2020 to help run it after being in New York City. And boom, the economy shut down. The whole world collapsed, right? So my plans went out the window. Shredded them.
Rip that baby up.
Got side by side with my parents, shoulder to shoulder, week by week on COVID numbers, week by week on metrics on revenues, and all these different things on how do we keep this thing afloat. Well, our collision business went basically to zero. Our mechanical service dropped a lot because you're not driving, no one's getting in accidents, no one's getting their recovery. For some reason, car sales was sticking afloat.
Great.
In the middle of it all, people were shopping online and they were shopping for cars. And so I said, hey guys, we got a big decision to make right now. We have a limited runway. We need to do our best to keep everybody employed. Let's put all our chips in the car sales and let's gun it. I redid the website. My dad obviously kept doing the sales. Alex helped with that a little bit more. He helped tune up some of the SEO while I rebuilt a whole bunch of stuff. Within 2.5 months, we were the most searched car dealership in the state of Nebraska. And we had national platforms calling us saying, how did you do this? What are you doing? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. I just work for Google.
I'm not going to tell you either.
I don't know.
That's fantastic. So that begs so many questions. First of all, I want to talk about Gateway Auto's model. Yeah. You're not just a body shop. You're not just a repair shop. You're not just a car sales center.
That's right.
You're kind of an automotive complex, and I'm usually not a cliche guy, but you truly are kind of a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
And I think that's unique. In the marketplace, knowing what I know about the car business, it's a little bit unique to have all of those things. So was that from the beginning? Was that Ben's plan early on? Did that develop? Did that evolve? Tell me about that.
I wasn't in their brain back then, but I would say probably not. That was not the big picture. I think at the time my dad was trying to fill a need in our family to help pay bills. And what ended up happening is we were selling salvage cars, and those salvage cars needed to be fixed and repaired to be sellable. Well, in doing that, they were like, well, we're already fixing cars and we're paying people to fix our cars. Why not we fix other people's cars and subsidize that value towards fixing our cars?
So it organically grew out of your kind of business model.
It did, yeah. And it was very strange, right? Like, you're right. Everybody else is siloed.
Yes.
And my mom was the first in Omaha to say, we're not a auto body repair company. We're a collision. Why? Because now everyone knows when I get in an accident, come to Gateway. Right? What is auto body repair? What's auto repair? Am I getting my motor fixed? Am I getting my paint fixed? Like, what is auto repair? She said, let's call it collision. They changed the game for automotive in Omaha, and they didn't even know it.
They did, I think, and they did it kind of by accident, it sounds like, organically. And now, when you capture a customer, there's with all the tentacles of your business, and I'm sure the referral base is huge, and that's really helped you grow, obviously.
And you said the word complex. I like to use the word concierge. We are your automotive service concierge. Anything you need done, you need to stop thinking and bring it to us. Because we'll help you figure it out. And oh, by the way, because we have this all, we've created a nice little ecosystem where we can provide you with a premium service at an affordable price. We're not isolated on mechanical service, so we're not trying to rip you off and have the biggest bills, because we have other departments that help subsidize these things.
It's interesting, and I want to talk about Best of Omaha before we wrap up, Joe, but I had the opportunity to listen to some of the commercials that our radio company put together for you, and Dave Wingert, you're one of your spokespersons for you. And I was able to listen to some of your audio of some of your employees. And, as somebody who has some employees myself, I always listen intently to that. And I was taken back by the sincerity of these individuals that work for you and your family of what it's not just a job. And I heard that time and time again. Is I can't imagine a better place to work, that I'm treated like family. And I know that you kept everybody on during COVID, and a lot of people didn't. And you've created a family culture that's got to be really impacting your business.
Yeah. And, we are Italian, so the family's a big part of it, right?
Yeah.
But the short of it is we operate internally a bit more like a big corporation in terms of our structure, in the way that we operate our businesses, but we treat our people more like a small mom and pop. And that's why we have such a good team. Now, I'll say this too. It's been really hard for us to hire.
Of course.
Because we're very picky. We're very picky,
should be,
But the guys who come work with us, they stay for a long time, and they have a high quality life, and they also get paid well.
You take care of them. And they said that.
Yeah.
They said, we're taken care of. We feel like we're family. And, your motto is driven by people. And I love that, because, of course, not only your customers, but it seems like you take your employees as serious as you do your customers.
Yeah. So that's also a mindset we've always kind of had, but I really helped vocalize it and strategically implement it a bit more since I've been involved. I don't know if you've heard of the public benefit corporation structure. It's called a B Corp. Now, we're not a B Corp yet. My goal, hopefully over the course of my life, maybe we can move into that. But the difference between like old school corporations is just shareholders and ownership who are really benefiting. A public benefit corporation is a different legal structure in which you legally have the right to consider your customers, your employees, your vendors, your local ecosystem, like the environment. And those are all, rather than a corporation, a C Corp or an S Corp, where you have a legal obligation to increased shareholder value. In the B Corp structure, you have a legal obligation to do that, but you can make short-term decisions that benefit the long-term rather than quarterly engagements. And so that's the mindset I've helped bring into our business.
I think that might be another podcast, Joe. That's an interesting, that's a fascinating topic.
Yeah.
So, Best of Omaha. It's kind of a big deal. You're an Omaha guy. You went away for a while, but Best of Omaha for 30 years has been a big deal in Omaha. And what I found most fascinating about Gateway Auto is you guys won, and you weren't out there pandering for votes. You didn't advertise for it. You didn't do a big recruiting effort. And when they got the results, you won in not one but two categories. And it sounds like we're trying to go for another one. But automotive sales and also collision repair. You hit Best of Omaha.
Yeah, a total surprise. Yeah. We've won La Vista, and we did participate in trying to win La Vista a while back. But we did not for Best of Omaha. We had no idea it was even happening. We just got a note in the mail that said you won.
That is fantastic.
Man, our customers literally stuffed the ballot box for us.
Without you asking them. That's the important part. Yeah. So obviously you do service too. So there's a category there that you'd kind of like to try to get to for the 26 contest.
Yeah.
How do your employees react to being recognized as Best of Omaha? I mean, that had to be kind of a big deal internally too.
Of course, they're very excited, but I think there's also a little bit of it where they were like, "Yeah, we're not surprised. Like, we do really good work." And I mean, they were surprised to see it, of course, happy, but everybody inside, we show up every day, we do our best efforts. Right? It's a thing where you trust the process, and the process just shows results. Right? You don't notice that days are going by. You're just doing the things that need to be happening.
You're doing the right thing.
And so they were very happy and surprised in the sense that we didn't think of it at all. But then we reflect on, we're like, we do good work.
Yeah,
we deserve this. So it's great.
Are you having fun?
I'm having a lot of fun. I'm being back. I've been home for living here for probably 13 years.
Yeah.
So for me, it's also a big investment coming home. I'm going to be in the shop. Sorry, but I'm also going to be involved in the community. I'm not one to sit on my hands. I've helped draft and enact laws on safety and digital literacy and things like that on the internet. I plan to be active here. I plan to be an advocate. I still will do my speaking events.
I was going to say, are you still trying to do some of that? Are you still able to do some of that?
I am, but I'm toning it down in favor of moving the company forward for now and growing that. And my long-term goal is to leverage that to create more impact over the course of my life.
So let's talk about the future. What's the future of Gateway Auto? More locations, more states, more cities? How big do you want to get?
In the near term, I definitely see more locations for us here. How big do I want to get? I want to get big enough to make sure we have stability for everyone. We never have a fear of someone being sick or taking time off to take care of their kids or any of that. Like we have, a small business, you do. Yeah. I want to be big enough to not worry about any of that. but I want to be small enough to manage and still have good relationships with everyone.
Are there other automotive services? I mean, you kind of got the big three. Sales and service and collision. Are there other services ancillary that you're kind of got your eye on?
Yeah, we're dipping our toes back into detailing this year. We did it for like 18 years, and then COVID came along, and it wasn't a big money maker for us. So we really had to sit and say, where do we focus? It didn't require us to lay anybody off. It was just like, hey, we need to focus on the things that we are making money on. At the time, we weren't. Now we're trying to get back into it because we had so many requests for it. You come in, you get your car worked on, we wash cars. So then people fall into, like, do you detail too? And
Which, as you know, that's a different skill. You and I both started washing cars, and polishing and buffing and detailing is a different skill set.
It is.
You have a team.
It's different than just washing and vacuuming. Yes. Yeah, and that's the thing is that's why we're doing it largely is for the first time ever, we actually have guys who are qualified to do that. They came on at a point in which we needed to fill some roles. Eric is our manager. Yeah. He came on because he was transitioning and wanted just a different role in a new company. Well, then Eric said, hey, I know this guy named Marquise. They both came together. They're buddies. They're both qualified detailers. They've been pushing on me for a while. And now that I'm home, I'm like, okay, I'll put some energy into it. Let's get you guys a
and you've got room.
Around. We do have room. We have all the tools to do it. We've always had the facilities to do it. We just didn't have the talent to come in and represent us.
And there's another category for Best of Omaha for you. So
yeah, we just found that out. So thanks for telling us. So now we know maybe another surprise coming. We'll see.
Well, listen, I'd like you to tell our viewers today, how they can get a hold of you, where your locations are. Let's give them the nuts and bolts as we wrap up.
Yeah, we have a lot of phone numbers. So I'd say the best way to get a hold of us is to go to our website. Just Google Gateway Auto Omaha.
And I have a feeling it's going to pop right up because of your SEO.
It'll pop up. You'll find it. We have 3 locations. One's at 110th and Harrison. One's at 133rd B. Our sales lot's at 108th and L. Yep. And we're working on expanding out into Western Omaha, 192nd. And Harrison's our target. That's just now. But,
that's hot off the press. That's great news.
We're moving into areas where we have the highest demand from our customers. And we literally see people traveling across the city to come to us. So over time, we will expand in other places where we see the highest demand.
So this has been a good move. You're feeling good. Folks have got to be proud to have you back, and things are going well.
Yeah, and now they can see me work, so they know I'm working. So
rather
it's
than
great.
behind the scenes, right? So.
Yeah.
Joe, this has been a real pleasure. I hope we can do this again because I'd love to dig a little bit more with you into your experience with AI and your experience with Google and what's going on in the world. But this has been fascinating, and I want to congratulate you on behalf of Walnut Media on winning the award. And we want to do what we can do to help you win those other 2 categories.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us today. This is the first of the Boomer Best of Omaha Spotlight podcast. Joe Toscano from Gateway Auto joined us today, and be tuning in the upcoming weeks. We'll have more editions with more of our great Best of Omaha winners, and we hope you enjoyed it today. Thanks. We'll see you next time.